Coverage you can count on. KOMU 8 News starts with breaking news.
We start the show this morning with breaking news. We just learned that Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny has died in prison. He was 47 years old. Thanks for joining us, everybody. I'm Jordan Berger.
And I'm Sarah Moyers. This ends a years-long fight against corruption in the Kremlin that saw Navalny survive several poisoning attempts. His death leaves Russia's opposition hampered by years of harassment and prosecution without a clear figurehead. Officials report that Navalny felt unwell after a walk, almost immediately losing consciousness.
The facility's medical workers immediately arrived at the scene. All necessary resuscitation measures were carried out, but they confirmed the death of Navalny. All of Putin's most high-profile critics are now either dead, jailed, or in exile. This is a developing story. We'll be sure to keep you updated as we learn more, both here on air and online at KOMU.com.
Okay, thanks, Beth. Kansas City police are revealing more on what may have sparked a deadly mass shooting at the Chiefs Super Bowl celebration. They say there are more than 20 victims who were injured and at least one person has died. Authorities say 2 teens remain in custody for further investigation. Michael Yoshida has more.
This appeared to be a dispute between several people that ended in gunfire.
Kansas City police giving an update on Wednesday's mass shooting during a Super Bowl victory rally for the Chiefs. Many of nearly 24 gunshot victims are children.
At least half of our victims are under the age of 16.
Killed in the gunfire was a popular local DJ, 43-year-old Lisa Lopez Galvin. Dozens gathering Thursday night for a vigil to mourn her loss and stand together in the wake of this tragedy.
It's going to take a long time for a lot of us to understand and heal from this. It's just a tragedy.
People coming together to light candles and say a prayer.
Hold on to hope, lean on one another, and know that a brighter tomorrow awaits.
As friends remember Lopez Galvin, some recall their own terrifying moments running from the gunfire.
And all of a sudden, through the partitions, a wave of people come rushing through, screaming, "Gun, run, police are coming."
In the chaos that followed, at least one armed suspect was tackled by those in the crowd.
When I hit him from behind, I either jarred the gun out of his hand or out of his sleeve, because as I'm taking him down to the ground, I see the gun on the ground.
I want to thank the people who acted bravely yesterday alongside law enforcement.
Police confirmed they're looking at a number of suspects and multiple weapons were recovered at the scene. In Kansas City, I'm Michael Yoshida reporting.
Federal agencies like the FBI and the ATF are assisting Kansas City law enforcement officers in the investigation. A Justice Department spokesperson says the feds have set up a website asking for any tips or videos at tips.fbi.gov. Of those who were injured in that shooting, half of those victims were under 16 years old. Children's Mercy took in 12 patients. 9 of those were children with gunshot wounds. Only 3 of them are still in the hospital and are expected to make a full recovery. University Health Truman Medical Center took in 8 patients with gunshot wounds. Doctors say 2 of them are in critical condition.
And the Kansas City community is still picking up the pieces after the shooting. While the city continues to heal, a local activist is looking towards a solution.
KOMU 8's Carrington Peavy is here in the studio to tell us more. Hey, Carrington. Okay, thanks, Carrington. There's new movement on the project to expand I-70. On Wednesday, Missouri's Highway and Transportation Commission announced the contractor for the first phase of the job. MoDOT is planning to expand the 20-mile stretch between Kingdom City and Columbia. The goal is to improve the traffic flow and driving conditions on the interstate. MoDOT says this expansion will benefit residents.
So that's going to really allow for additional capacity. That's going to improve the safety. It's going to make the overall driving experience from Kansas City to St. Louis and anyone stopping here in Columbia a much more pleasant experience.
The Columbia to Kingdom City phase will cost $405 million. The assigned budget for the entire I-70 interstate project is $2.8 billion. New data shows that 134 prisoners died in the custody of the Missouri Department of Corrections in 2023. That's according to the Kansas City Star. Advocates say the causes for the high deaths are the lack of medical care, as well as failure to prevent violence and drug overdoses within prisons. Coming up, a Florida reporter became a part of the news when police arrived outside her home. We'll tell you more up next.
But first, a live look over downtown Columbia at 6:07. We'll be right back. All right, Beth, the roller coaster continues. Thank you. A winter of harshness hits the central California coast. It comes after the year started off with beach flooding and damages reported in many communities there. John Parlamentary reports.
Looks like we're having some technical difficulties there. Sorry about that. We're going to switch now over to a former FBI informant has allegedly fabricated information about a bribery scheme involving President Joe Biden and his son Hunter Biden. Alexander Smirnov is charged with making a false statement and creating a false and fictitious record. Smirnov claimed that executives associated with a Ukrainian energy company paid Hunter and Joe Biden $5 million each in either 2015 or 2016. Prosecutors say Smirnov falsely reported the information to the FBI in June of 2020. It's a claim central to the Republican impeachment inquiry surrounding President Biden and Congress. Smirnov appeared in court yesterday and did not enter a plea.
It's not every day a reporter finds themselves at the center of a news story. An all-out search for an armed robbery suspect in Fort Lauderdale ended with the man in handcuffs at the home of a local news reporter. Marissa Bagg has more.
I mean, this is the kind of thing where we probably should not go outside.
While home on a lunch break with my father-in-law and 19-month-old daughter, I looked out the front window to find Fort Lauderdale police swarming our street in Coral Ridge. What caught my eye was an officer with his gun in hand staring through the fence on the side of our house.
I mean, this guy's looking in our backyard.
Seconds later, another officer pulls up and takes his canine out, and we realize they're looking at my husband.
Who is?
I was on the phone. My dad is calling me in. I'm waving him off. I was in the middle of a phone call, and he's like, "No, get in here now."
I rushed to the front door to tell the officers they've got the wrong guy. The exchange was caught on my Ring camera.
Husband. Get in the house. Yeah, tell him to get inside. Go get your husband. Tell him to get in the house. He's inside.
When we were all safely inside, the canine unit with guns drawn cased my backyard looking for I didn't know who at the time.
Turns out it's a bad guy 30 feet away hiding next to our shed.
2 minutes later, they escorted a man down my driveway in handcuffs. They'd found him hiding on the side of my house near the shed.
Holy crap, you guys got him back there.
In your backyard.
Unbelievable.
And it's crazy to see your neighbor comes out and goes, he just jumped the fence. So I ran over there, and I saw you moving. I'm like, I got him right here.
Yeah.
So luckily your wife came outside because the dog was coming in.
Holy crap.
Police say the suspect had just robbed the Star America Food and Deli half a mile away on East Oakland Park Boulevard.
Grateful that the police was able to get here quickly, apprehend the suspect, that everybody in our family was safe. I mean, everything turned out okay, and you saved me from getting a canine sicked on me, so I'm very grateful.
Well, coming up, a broad shift in Gen Z's behavior compared to previous generations can be linked back to the pandemic.
That's a live look over the Columbia Regional Airport. Your time is 6:17 on your Friday morning. Stick with us. KOMU 8 News Today. We'll be right back after this.
Well, you've seen the trends from bed rotting to doom scrolling to quiet quitting. Gen Z is behind a lot of that. Their content is going viral on places like TikTok, and a lot of it is focused on self-care. But now they seem to be driving less, staying home a lot, and maybe even not drinking as much. It seems to be part of a broader shift happening among this age group, where a lot of it is linked back to how the pandemic changed everyone's lives. NBC's Dana Griffin has more.
Getting a driver's license may not feel like a ticket to freedom for a lot of teens and young adults like it used to.
Offhand, I'd say you failed.
Failed? Hoping to avoid moments like that, less and less of Gen Z, roughly defined as people born between 97 and 2010, are on the roads.
I'm from New Orleans, which is sort of notorious for having bad drivers. I don't want to put myself in this situation.
Today, just 25% of 16-year-olds have any kind of driver's license. Compare that to nearly 3 decades ago, when that number was more than 40%. Why do all of that when you have things like public transportation, ride-sharing, and food delivery apps?
The modern accessibility for getting rides and all of that has sort of balanced out the fact that I don't have a license.
It's also part of some broader shifts we're seeing among Gen Z. They're drinking less.
I know the influence, I know the impact, and I know the vibes.
Sleeping earlier. And across social media, viral content focused on staying in more, self-care, and staying home.
No, because I've got a plan.
What do you mean?
You'll find out.
Why? Part of it may have to do with the fact that their coming of age was interrupted.
Many of these young adults really kind of finished middle school or high school in the pandemic where everything shifted to online. So in real life, kind of interactions seemed less important.
They're spending a lot of their time glued to their phones. Just about half of teens say they're online almost constantly, double that from 2015, according to a recent Pew study. In some cases, dramatically changing how they socialize, according to health officials. Another part, finances. 85% of Gen Z citing one or more barriers to achieving financial success. One expert citing a financial hierarchy when it comes to spending, maybe less on a focus on getting a car and paying insurance and more on groceries and paying off student loans.
I think driving and owning a car just is kind of falling down because there are so many new options that they can utilize. It just isn't the thing that used to be the most priority for other people.
The outcome of some of those financial decisions, some call it an introvert economy.
Instead of trying to figure out how to do it and potentially failing, it's just easier to stay kind of to yourself.
Which could be good for long-term health trends, but potentially exacerbating the loneliness epidemic. Last year, nearly a quarter of Gen Z adults reported always or often feeling lonely over the past 12 months, compared to 18% of millennials, according to the American Enterprise Institute's Survey Center on American Life. But it doesn't have to stay that way.
I'm hoping that as that maturity continues to happen, that thing also impacts how lonely we feel and how we can increase connected communities so that we can decrease some of these other issues.
It's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
But I understand
really
some of it,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I think this is where I feel like I don't fully identify with Gen Z.
Oh, no. Don't be coming over to our side after you've made it very clear.
Stay over there.
That we are not in the same generation.
Yeah, you keep
And
you
now
playing your Gen Z issues over there.
Now she's like, this is when I start to cozy up with your generation.
True. I feel like I'm in the middle. I'm somewhere in between.
zillennial is
I'm
what
a
they call it.
zillennial.
I need that moment to just be roll the clip so that we can play it anytime
Well, we're done
reference
here.
that. Yeah, let's take a live look over mid-Missouri now. That is downtown Columbia at 6:26. Stick around. We'll be right back.